Got him. That's a good fish. That's a really good fish.
Hey, what's going on, Salt Strong Nation? Welcome back. In today's video, we're gonna be going over how to fish deepwater docks. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so deepwater docks are areas that are phenomenal to fish, and really they hold fish 12 months out of the year. The reason why is it's got structure, it's got bait, and it's got deeper water. So in those colder months or even the warmer months of summer, fish are typically gonna be there and still be able to have a range where they've got everything they need to feed and also feel comfortable. With that being said, and that you can catch fish at these types of areas all throughout the year, there are some mistakes that I see anglers consistently making when fishing deepwater docks. So the absolute #1 mistake that I see is anglers are not fishing at the right depth around these docks to be effective. Now that depth can change throughout the year or even the seasons, or even the tide cycle. So that's something that you will have to work on and spend a little bit more time in some of these areas to really figure that out. But once you do, it should hold pretty consistent throughout the rest of that season or that trend. So going into a few tips on what water depth to fish, there's a few things you need to think about. Now the good thing is about these deep water docks is usually there is some more current in these type of areas versus others, which is a good thing. So if you're fishing, during that mid-tide cycle or where the current's moving a little bit faster, you might want to go ahead and throw on something like this right here, which is going to be our Fred paddle tail. But what's important is that you've got this 1/4 ounce jig head. So this is really, really good during your mid-tide cycle periods when that current's moving fast, because what this is going to do is cut through that first kind of top portion or a few feet of water and get down to that strike zone. So you really want to make sure that you can get down in the strike zone quickly before your bait or lure gets washed away. So it's always a really good idea to go ahead and have a heavier jig head, such as a 1/4 ounce, kind of in there in your back pocket. That way, if you are there during those times of higher current flow, you can get your lure down in the strike zone where it needs to go. Now, with that being said, there are a few things as well that can help increase your hookup ratio. And one of those is just keeping your lure in the strike zone as long as possible. Now, the problem with that is if you use your 1/4 ounce, sometimes it won't stay there long enough, especially during your slack tide periods, close to high tide or even down at low tide. But at certain times of the year, that's the best time to fish. So example, if you're fishing in your colder months or cooler months where, you're in the winter and those fish are holding a little bit deeper, they may only feed once a day, and a lot of times it's during those lower or more slack tide periods. So what I like to do in that case is go ahead and switch up to a lighter jig head or even something like a weighted hook. So something like this is going to be our Power Prawn Junior. Got this on a Haas Helix hook. Guys, a phenomenal presentation to use around docks. Now, when you're in higher current flow areas, you want to make sure that you target these deepwater docks at kind of a slack tide period in your colder and cooler months like we're going to start moving into eventually. So one of my favorite techniques to use to go ahead and be able to make sure my lure or bait is in that strike zone a long time is just lowering the weight. But when you do that, you want to make sure that you're in an area that you can cast far up current and give that lure a little bit of slack to where it can start moving back and sinking with it. So once you throw it out, give it some slack. That's not the area or the strike zone where the fish are going to hit. But once it gets to the right depth and kind of back in front of you, that lure should have enough time to get down to that depth that's needed, and then you can catch those fish in that strike zone. Otherwise, if you were using a 1/4 ounce or a heavier type of jig head, that lure would be moving too fast for those fish, and most of the time you're not going to get near as many bites that way. So one of my favorite techniques, whether it's a 2.0, the Fred, Gold Digger, whatever color works for your area the best in that time of year, use that, or something like this, which is the Power Prawn Junior. Throw that lure up current with that lighter, weighted hook or that lighter jig head, and allow it to fall and give it enough time to get to that strike zone. And by the time it gets there, it's going to be an easy meal for those fish, and they'll definitely pick it up. All right, so hopefully these tips were helpful for you on fishing deepwater docks. It's certainly been a game changer for me, knowing what tide cycle I'm going to be fishing and making sure I've got the right equipment for the job and getting that lure down in the strike zone where it needs to be. So if you need any of this tackle, weighted hooks, lures like the Power Prawn Junior or the 2.0 that was discussed today, definitely be sure to go to fishstrong.com and check it out. Other than that, if you have anything that you like to do when fishing deepwater docks, definitely leave them in the comments below or any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best online club for saltwater anglers, especially if you're targeting redfish, sea trout, snook, or flounder. There's nothing else like it, and we actually guarantee that you'll catch more fish while saving time and money. We do this with our premium education, the exclusive insider community, and huge discounts on all the tackle you need. To learn more, go to saltstrong.com. Otherwise, we hope to see you again soon.